Okay, picture this. Nigeria, early 2000s, you've got 150 million people, this huge, vibrant country, but mobile phone connections, barely enough for a small city. There's like this massive untapped potential just waiting.
Yeah, a sleeping giant, really. And everyone knew mobile was coming, that it could change everything. But getting it rolled out, well, that was the challenge.
And right into that challenge steps this bare-knuckle brawl we're diving into today. It's a local underdog versus a global giant.
It really is. Globacom, Nigeria's own, versus MTN, the South African powerhouse.
Right.
And the prize, dominance in one of Africa's most critical markets.
Exactly. We're not just talking business plans here. This is, David and Goliath stuff, but with cell towers. We're going to unpack how Nigeria's Globacom took the fight to MTN, the twists, the turns. It's quite a story.
And it's more than just market share, isn't it? It taps into national pride, the power of regulators, and fundamentally, how millions of Nigerians got connected. The stakes were incredibly high from the get-go.
So let's set that scene a bit more. Early 2000s, 150 million people, maybe 2.5 million mobile lines total. The field was wide open.
Just massive potential. People were hungry for it. So when MTN arrived in 2001, they came in big. South African giant, ambitions across the continent, and Nigeria. That was the crown jewel for them.
They didn't tiptoe in, did they? Big money, big marketing.
No, they went straight for dominance, and they had early success, hit 1 million subscribers by 2003. Their message was basically, we're the future, we're bringing Nigeria online, we're here to win.
Pretty confident.
Well, they had the track record, the funding, why wouldn't they be? But that big entrance, that confidence, it kind of created the perfect opening for a local challenger, didn't it?
It really did. Cue Globacom, 2003. Led by billionaire Mike Adenuga, a Nigerian tycoon. And his angle was totally different.
Completely. His vision was clear. Built by Nigerians, for Nigerians. That was the slogan, more or less.
Yeah. He actually said, Nigeria deserves more. We need a network that is built by Nigerians, for Nigerians. Our people will have affordable, reliable service.
Powerful stuff. It really resonated. So you immediately had this stark contrast. The big international player, MTN, versus the homegrown champion, Globacom, promising lower prices, focusing on, national sentiment.
Those early Globe ads really hammered that home. It wasn't just about calls. It was about Nigeria building its own future.
It set up this classic underdog narrative. Fast forward a bit, say to 2010. MTN is definitely the market leader, no question. They got in first, built out quickly.
But Globacom wasn't going away. They were learning, adapting.
Oh, yeah. They were proving to be really persistent. By 2011, even MTN's top brass in Nigeria had to admit it. Michael Ikpoki, the CEO then, actually called Globacom a formidable competitor.
That's significant coming from the leader. Shows Globi is making serious inroads.
And a big part of that was network investment. Around 2012, Globacom made a major push with their 3G network. Now, 3G, you have to remember, was a leap forward. Faster data, mobile internet becoming a real thing for many people for the first time.
Right. It wasn't just calls anymore. And Global's marketing for that was direct, wasn't it? Something like,
introducing low 3G, Nigeria's most reliable network. You deserve better. You deserve Glo, a direct challenge on quality and experience.
so the fight moved beyond just getting subscribers to, like, who had the better, faster network.
Exactly. Data became the new battleground. And just as things were heating up technologically, the referees stepped in more assertively. The Nigerian Communications Commission, the NCC.
Ah, yes. The NCC. You can't tell this story without them. They were incredibly influential all through the 2000s and 2010s.
Absolutely. They weren't just setting ground rules, they were actively shaping the market. Take 2007, they mandated lower call termination rates.
Okay, so those are the fees operators charge each other when a call goes from one network to another.
Precisely. Lowering those rates helped consumers, definitely put pressure on MTN's profits since they were the biggest, and while it gave Globacom a bit more room to compete on price, like the regulator trying to level the field a bit.
But the NCC also had teeth, and they weren't afraid to bite. That massive fine against MTN in 2015.
Whoa, yeah. The $5 billion fine. That was huge. It was for failing to disconnect unregistered SIM cards, which, was a serious security concern.
It got reduced later quite a bit, but the initial shockwave.
Wow.
And the damage to MTN's reputation.
Significant. You heard their spokespeople saying they were deeply disappointed but committed to resolving this. It was a major blow.
And while MTN is dealing with that firestorm, the money, the bad press, what's Globacom doing?
Well, it's an opportunity, isn't it? They could double down on being the reliable, compliant, customer-focused choice, a chance to scoop up customers worried about the MTN situation. It shows how one player's regulatory trouble can become another's advantage.
Now, all this competition and regulation is happening against the backdrop of Nigeria itself, which is, let's face it, a complex place to operate. Huge potential, but also real challenges.
Definitely. Socioeconomic extremes, infrastructure gaps. Running a nationwide network there is not easy.
MTN, their global scale was a plus, in some ways weathering economic storms maybe, but being foreign.
Also made them a target sometimes, right? When things got tough economically, the narrative of a foreign company taking profits out could surface. Nationalist sentiment is a real factor.
Whereas Globacom, being local, could lean into that national pride. But they still faced the same practical problems, didn't they? Getting towers built, maintained, dealing with power issues.
Exactly. The on-the-ground challenges were the same for everyone. And then you add security issues on top of that.
Like the Boko Haram insurgency in the north, that had a direct impact.
Oh, absolutely. You had instances like in 2015 where MTN's towers were actually attacked. It just highlights the risks involved, the difficulty of guaranteeing service everywhere when you face those kinds of threats. It's not just business, it's operating in a really challenging geopolitical context.
Yet, through all of that, the fierce competition, the regulatory hurdles, the security risks, both kept pushing, kept investing, looking ahead.
Always looking ahead, towards 5G, towards mobile money, the next big things.
Which brings us pretty much up to date. The rivalry enters a new phase, focused now on innovation digital services.
Yeah, it's less about basic calls and more about building these whole digital ecosystems, and 5G is front and center.
MTN went big on 5G in 2023, launched in major cities, calling it a game changer.
And you can see why. Faster speeds, lower latency. It enables so much more. It was a clear signal, we're leading on the next generation.
But Globacom wasn't just going to watch, right?
Not a chance. They started their own 5G trials pretty quickly in 2023, aiming for a full rollout, they said, by 2024. So that race is definitely on. Who gets the best coverage, the best speeds, the most innovative services on top of 5G?
And alongside 5G, there's the whole fintech battle heating up. Mobile money.
Oh, massively. MTN's Momo service is huge across Africa.
Right.
Globacom's pushing its GloPay hard too. You hear the ads everywhere. It's about becoming central to people's financial lives, not just their communications.
So by 2025, the game has really changed. It's about who builds the stickiest, most useful digital world for their customers.
Exactly. Communication, payments, entertainment, financial services, all integrated. That's the goal now.
So wrapping this up, what we've seen is this epic clash. Homegrown ambition meets global scale right here in Nigeria.
It's fascinating, and you see these key themes play out. That first mover advantage MTN had, but also Globacom's smart use of local knowledge and affordability. And of course, the huge shadow cast by the regulator, the NCC.
It really highlights that need for long-term vision, but also, the ability to react quickly, grab opportunities when they arise.
Adaptability seems crucial. So the big question hanging there is, what happens next? Does MTN's scale keep them ahead in the 5G and digital services era?
Or does Globacom's deep Nigerian roots give them an edge in understanding what people really want and need as things evolve? It feels like the competition is far from settled.
Couldn't agree more. The next few years will be critical. And, it's worth saying, like we always do, that we're looking at this based on public information, news, statements, public records.
Right. We can't know every internal meeting or secret strategy.
Of course not. But the story itself, this Globacom versus MTN fight,
it really gives you a lens, doesn't it? A way to think about these local versus global battles playing out everywhere, especially in fast-growing markets. So maybe think about that. What it really determines who wins in the end is its scale. Local savvy. Something else entirely. Definitely.